Hey guys, Addison Smith here with Real Life Network. We all remember when COVID first made landfall in the US and the insanity that transpired shortly thereafter. Social distancing, masking, and perhaps worst of all, mandatory lockdowns.
As we come on the air, there are more than 3.3 million confirmed cases nationwide.
The better you do, the faster this whole nightmare will end.
California led the charge with these shelter-in-place requirements, with Santa Clara County being the first in the nation to order churches not to gather for worship in March of 2020.
Tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom says he's stopping indoor dining in restaurants and closing all bars, wineries, and movie theaters statewide. The governor is also closing gyms, churches, and non-essential offices, essentially shutting down California for 80% of people living there.
But Calvary Chapel San Jose, led by Senior Pastor Mike McClure, had the courage to defy this order and continued holding Sunday service anyways.
Well, Calvary Chapel just over my shoulder looks quiet. It will likely not be like that tomorrow indoors. I called the church to confirm they will be holding a Christmas Eve service at 5 p.m., defying orders. Santa Clara County Council not very happy with that.
And in 2023, a judge ordered the church to pay $1.2 million in fines to the county for failure to comply with the county's orders through June of 2021. And now, after years of legal battles, Calvary Chapel is petitioning the California Supreme Court to overturn this fine on several grounds. First, the fact that while churches were demanded to cease worship services, Santa Clara County allowed secular institutions like cigar lounges, nail salons, and more to continue operations. Second, Calvary Chapel's legal team is arguing that the fines were based off of an unenforceable restraining order since it was later ruled to be unconstitutional, making the violation, they suggest, null and void. Quote, Calvary Chapel acted in good faith, followed its calling, and saw no COVID-19 cases linked to its services. Yet Santa Clara County treated them like criminals, their attorney said in a statement. So, is this an excessive fine? It sure does seem that way. Perhaps the government would have a leg to stand on if they could prove that the church gatherings got people killed, or at least sick. But according to the church's attorneys, not one case came from Sunday worship. But more than that, this is a First Amendment issue. Do Americans have a right to worship their Creator? Yes or no? The answer should be an emphatic yes, full stop. And denying the churches that right is a precedent that we can never allow to be set. Because if they can use the guise of public health to shut down churches, what will the next justification be? Only time will tell how this appeal to the state Supreme Court plays out. But the good news is that since this COVID madness first began, we have already seen churches in California score legal victories on this very issue. Grace Community Church, pastored by John MacArthur, ended up receiving an $800,000 settlement from the state and Los Angeles County after its attempts to shut them down. And Harvest Rock Church received a $1.3 million settlement in 2021 due to Newsom's attempt to make these lockdowns statewide. That case actually resulted in the first time in U.S. history that a governor has ever had a court-ordered permanent injunction placed on them. And in this case, Newsom was barred from imposing discriminatory COVID-19 restrictions on places of worship. And in the case of Calvary Chapel specifically, a reversal on these fines could well be on the horizon. After the pastors were held in contempt of court over Sunday worship, and after they were initially ordered to pay this fine, a state appellate court sided with the church and ruled that the restrictions on their worship services indoors were harsher than was the case for secular activities like the liquor store and grocery stores, for example. If the California Supreme Court can recognize this and agrees with the appellate court, then there really is no other argument to be had, and this fine will, and at least should, be reversed. But friends, now is the time to pray. Pray for Calvary Chapel that they are freed from this government coercion, freed from this fine, that true justice may prevail, and that they may be rewarded for being faithful to God and obeying Him rather than obeying man. Pray for churches all around the country who have faced similar cases, similar persecution. Pray that Americans are courageous in this battle against government coercion on religious liberty. Again, the precedent that this sets cannot be understated. Religious liberty is a foundation, a cornerstone of this country. It needs to stay that way, friends. So let's pray for Calvary Chapel, for churches all around the country, and for pastors to have the courage, should this ever happen again, to say simply in response, let us worship. Reporting from Real Life Network, I'm Addison Smith. See you next time.